Hello, welcome to the another episode of the Mindful Introvert podcast. I'm Joe and I help busy go-getters avoid burnout by creating a more peaceful life through meditation and unconscious reprogramming. On today's episode, I have a lovely guest, Mili, and Mili is a business coach who specializes in helping coaches and service providers to attract aligned clients using strategy and energy. And she teaches aligned sales and marketing and how to use human design, today's topic, to help you create a life you love. And she also has a freebie for you. She has a content by design free guide. And this is a guide on how to create better content based on your human design. So if you're interested in having this free guide, go to the show notes. I will have all of the links there so you can connect with Mili and you can also get access to this very much interesting guide. And today's topic, like I said, is about human design. So Millie will share a lot of her knowledge on this topic, what it is, what situations is applicable to our lives, how can we best take the best advantage of it, and how can we work and be in alignment with who we truly are. And she shares a lot of her own personal stories, which I very, very much value. And I'm so happy that she's here. So, if you're interested in knowing more about how to create a more aligned life accordingly to your human design, then keep on listening. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Millie, for being here. I'm so happy that you're here with us. And today we're going to discuss human design, a very interesting topic that you are the expert in. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, about your business, what you do, and how did you come across human design?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so happy to be sharing a bit more about human design and how you could use it in your business to help you become more in alignment. So, I actually started as a very traditional social media business coach, coming back from a very engineering background, very much like structure and strategy and all of that stuff. I was very much focused on the practical things, the tips, the strategies, and all of that. And things were happening, but really slowly. And it was the summer of last year in 2020 when I decided to kind of look outside of my current mentors. And I discovered a course that was focusing more on like spiritual tools and things like that could help you expand your business. And one of the topics that was covered in there was human design, and that deeply resonated with me. So I went straight into it. I started learning about it. I bought the books. I started kind of teaching myself how to do it and experimenting with my own life, with my own business, with like using my chart to guide me on this journey. And it's been 9 months and I still use it to this day to make decisions, to guide my clients. And it's just been a massive change in my energy and how I do my business.
Wow. Yeah. And I can say for everyone listening that does not yet know you, I can say that I noticed that shift. I felt that shift. And I think that's even what propelled me to connect with you to record this podcast because I just had a download in my mind saying, you know what, you need to record a podcast on human design. Who do you call to do this? And I said, Millie, obviously. So, for those that don't know human design, what is this idea of human design?
Okay, yeah. So this is probably like the biggest questions that people have when I share it. And it was also the biggest question I had.
Hmm.
So human design is a synthesis of five other different systems or sciences. So going really back in time, it is based on the chakra systems, which is more of a Hindu system. It also is based on the Chinese I Ching, which is the book of changes.
Okay.
It's based also on Kabbalah, the Tree of Lives. So those are the more Eastern sciences, right? And then we also have Western astrology, the thing that I think most of us will be familiar with our zodiac signs, the planets, things like that. And it's also based on quantum mechanics, quantum physics. So it's all of those five being synthesized in a new shape and form that help you to create your unique chart, which is kind of like your energetic blueprint, I think they call it
Mm.
in human design. So, based on that, each person has their own blueprint. And the great thing about it is that unlike other like personality tests and quizzes and systems where you're the person who kind of answers the questions and you can get very different answers depending on how you feel that day, human
Mhm.
design is a system that is quite precise. So you only have one chart. That's it. Like you cannot affect it with your answers. And it's basically a tool for helping you to understand yourself. That's how I can explain it simply. It helps you to identify your strengths, your mission, like your path in life, path of least resistance, if you wish. How can you be the most successful in the easiest way for you? But it also can show you some areas of opportunity, of growth, and also areas where you may be conditioned by your parents, by society, by so many things that you can form beliefs and start doing things that you kind of subconsciously don't even recognize why you're doing them. And when you at least become aware of that, you can start to decondition yourself and truly become in alignment. So that's probably the basic way to explain the human design system.
Okay. And what does one need to figure out their human design?
Yeah, so it is free. It's very simple. It literally doesn't require more than 2 minutes. So you need your date of birth, your time of birth, and the more accurate that you have it, the better. But even if you don't know the exact hour and minute, you can still get a pretty accurate chart. Like the most important bits, they won't change within the entire day. So it doesn't really matter if you're born at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or noon, most aspects will be the same. And you also
Okay.
need your place of birth because the entire system is based on where all of different like planetary objects and so on were when you were born and about 3 months before you were born. So that's why, like, if you look at your chart, you'll have two different columns. One is based on the day that you're born. So this is the side of you that you're more aware of. This is called like your personality. This is the part of you that you'll know quite well, especially like if you're more into personal development and so on. This would be the things that you would likely know about yourself.
Mm.
And then about 3 months before your birth, this is when the design part of you is created. So based on that, this would be aspects that maybe either people like other people will notice about you, but maybe you yourself resist or don't want to see. So that's why having the chart can actually be really helpful to reconcile both sides, because sometimes we can do very contradicting things and not realize why we are, let's say, very organized in some areas of our life and then we really struggle with organization in other parts. And when you look into the chart, a lot of those things start to make sense. So that's why I'm saying it's a tool for self growth, self awareness, understanding yourself, and then accepting yourself based on who you are.
Mm. Yeah. And very important, I would say. It shifted a lot of ideas that I had about myself. And what would you say um, are the benefits? You've mentioned a little bit on in business, in personal development, but can you tell us a little bit of an example of situations where this is applicable and is
Absolutely.
beneficial to know?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that can really help you is actually understanding other people outside of yourself. Because when you
Mm.
live with someone, like maybe with your partner, or you have a sibling, or maybe it's your parents, there is likely something that maybe slightly you or annoys you about them. And I know that, for example, for me, my mom is the kind of person who would always push us to go somewhere and saying things like, we're going to be late, we're going to be so late,
Mm.
even like 2 3 hours before we had to be there. So there is always this pressure to leave, like so much stress and pressure. And for some reason, none of us, like me, my sister, and my father, we felt it. And then when I actually started doing the charts for my family, I realized that my mom actually doesn't have her root center, which is responsible for pressure. She doesn't have that defined. And all of us, we do. So basically, she feels so much pressure to move and get things done, and like work is never done, but we don't feel it. And that's why we can get really annoyed with her that she's pushing us. And at the same time, she can feel annoyed with us, like, why are you not seeing this, that you're going to be late? So just knowing that made me so much more kind of accepting and being like, okay, so that's just her living her design, and that's okay with me. And I can kind of employ different strategies to help her feel less pressure. And also for me, maybe sometimes she's right that I need to be
Mm.
more on time and sometimes I'm too chilled. So it really helps. It can help you to understand the people around you, especially the people that you spend a lot of time with, and become so much more understanding of who they are, why they do certain things, why they don't do certain things, and can help you like just connect better with other people, like both in your personal life and in your business as well.
Yeah, yeah, I love that example. That, and I felt like you were talking about me because my mom was exactly like my mom and my dad actually. And I think because I have that roots center, as you mentioned, so defined, as in I'm not stressed with anything. I'm just existing. And it's so interesting that there are so many people that are very stressed, and it all goes to human design, and it just it blows my mind.
Yeah.
And what it has helped me was to understand that I have been living by other people's design, if that makes sense. I wasn't living by my human design. So the if you were to adjust your attitude and adjust your behavior and your beliefs to what your mom says, and uh, intuitively, what's the word? Intuitively knew that you had to be on time or you had to feel that pressure, you would be living by her design and not yours, and you would feel not in alignment, and you would feel stressed because you were not living your design. So that was the big shift for me, was understanding that this is a tool that explains how I was designed. And I would say that we have free will, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I really don't like the notion that some people say, or like it's written in the stars and that's
Mm.
it. I am not this kind of person. I 100% believe that we have free will. And there are so many examples of people living completely opposite of their design and still being like doing fine, right? Like you can see Donald Trump is living in some ways really according to his design, and in some ways completely against it, and he's still to most people a very successful person. Despite whatever people say about him, he's still grown a
Mm.
massive business, right? So you can live outside of your design. You have a lot of free will to choose. And let's say like with anything in the human design chart, it can be something that you decide to use and make your life a bit easier. Or like you say, I like you can live your life, especially in the earlier years, very much not according to your design, but maybe to your parents, because these are the people that you spend the most time with. And it's so hard for children, especially when they're young, to make their own decisions, right? Because it's like your parents telling you what to do, how to behave. So something that can sometimes like people can tell you is pick one thing and focus on it, right? And this is a very common advice, especially at school, that people will tell you like pick one thing, pick one discipline. Like, do you want to be a musician? Do you want to do sports? Do you want to do maths? What do you want to do? And kind of pick one thing and stick with it. And
Mm.
for me, that was always a very frustrating advice. And I couldn't explain why I was good at many things, not absolutely stellar at anything, but I was good at many things. I had so many interests, right? And I just felt wrong for a big chunk of my life. And again, like when I looked into my chart later on, I realized I'm a manifesting generator, which is 30% of the population, including you, right?
Yes, yes.
Uh, and for a manifesting generator, the worst thing you can tell this kind of a child is to pick one thing, because they're going to be so bored and they're just going to suck at whatever they choose, like if they only focus on this one thing. And I was a former math lead, and I remember like in high school there was this time that I decided that I'm just going to focus on maths, because that was the thing, that was my thing, I was good at it, my parents are just focus on that. And I focused on that, and that was the year that not only was I so unhappy with my life, but also I was not doing well with my maths either. Like I didn't do that well at like competitions and things like that. And when I finally allowed myself, and this was, I was already like 16, 17, allowed myself to explore other interests and go to other competitions, do geography and history and linguistics and things that were not really related, that's when my maths results also improved, because I was starting to live my design without at all being aware of it. So this kind of advice for one third of the population doesn't work. But then there are other people for whom this is really amazing advice, right? To just do
Mm.
their one thing and they're going to be uber successful with that. So this is why as well, like when I work with my clients, some of them have children, and I explain to them the different types of human design and all of that, so they can also start to parent more consciously, because we don't realize sometimes how much we can condition other people, especially when they're young. And that's why for me, if I have children in the future, it is going to be something that I at least consider when it comes to how I parent and how I speak to them as well.
Oh my God. Now this is gold because again, I felt like you were talking about me. And I think it is that whole idea of we both are manifesting generators. And we'll get into what that means a little bit later. I just wanted to share an insight that I had because I felt like I was wrong. Exactly like you said, I felt like I was wrong because by having so many interests and by wanting to do multiple things, and when you we do those tests at school before we go off to college, and you
Yeah.
decide which degree you want or whatever it is. And I had everything, like I had all the options, and it gave me absolutely no answer whatsoever.
Yep.
And so I just
Absolutely.
decided that I went with the one that had seemed more appealing to me. I always wanted to work in the lab, or at least I thought that I wanted, because I felt like I wasn't creative. I felt like I couldn't write properly. So it was more of the math and science type of path for me. And then I realized, and I was doing swimming lessons, I was dancing, I was doing so many things, and that in my hobbies that was good that my parents allowed me to do all of those things. But then in school I felt so um I don't know, like in a box, because it was science and math. But I liked English, I loved languages, I loved history, I love philosophy. And I couldn't, I had to let those go because I had to study to work in the lab.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Now what I'm doing is, yes, I'm working in the lab, but what I'm doing at home, I'm doing macrame, I'm doing obviously podcast, I'm sewing my curtains, I'm doing all of these things that it's just make. And people say, how do you have the energy to do all of these things? And I just say, it just lifts me up, it just makes me happy. I'm
Yeah.
reading 1,000 books at the same time. It's just, I am great at multitasking. I can acknowledge that sometimes too much multitasking can be draining. So there's a little bit of balance. And I always tell my clients to not multitask. So I have to watch out and be mindful of their human design as well. Because my human design is to multitask, isn't it? Our is to
Yeah.
multitask. And so I do well multitasking. I do well going through a list and just checking things out. And it just makes me feel so motivated. But I understand that a lot of people is not like that. And so we've talked about manifesting generators. What does that mean? Just
Mhm.
a general idea.
Yeah, so like the manifesting generator is sometimes called like the fast builder, like the fast specialist. So it's the person who is still very capable of becoming really good in their zone of genius, but at the same time, they improve the more they do stuff and they're really fast paced. So like they would kind of iterate, sometimes skip steps and have to go
Mm.
back. But you just learn so much by kind of going to the deep end and diving deep into stuff, and you just learn really fast. Versus, let's say, a generator who is a very similar type. These are the people that would perhaps get to the same level a bit slower. So if you're a generator and maybe you want to use Instagram, maybe it's going to take you some time to learn how to create content or how to post stories and all of that. And you may compare yourself with other people and be like, why am I not confident yet? Why am I not there yet? But the good thing about generators is that they also have a lot of energy to do work. It's just it takes them a bit more time, but because they're not skipping steps, there comes a time where they actually become bigger experts, bigger specialists into one thing because they've actually done it from 0 to 100 and they know every single thing about it. So for a lot of generators, for example, you'll find that those are the experts in a certain field because they've consciously spent a lot of time learning something and exploring all the different things around it and kind of step by step doing it. Versus the manifesting generator would usually be the person that has quite good knowledge on one thing, but then also a lot of knowledge around a lot of topics around it and kind of being more broad rather than super deep. So that's how I would explain the difference between those two types.
Okay. And
Do
we
you want to
have
know
more
about the
types.
others?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so actually, my mentor gave me this analogy and I wanted to share it because I think it really explains the different types really well. So, if you imagine, for example, that you want to build a city, like the whole premise is building a city. The manifester, which is the first type, the manifester is the developer. This is the person that's going to a field and just envision the potential of the city, where the city could be, and just recognize that there is so much potential, there's so much opportunity for growth in here. So the manifestor is truly the person who is going to initiate, is going to start a project and start gathering all of the people to do the work for him. This is not the person that's going to go down and dig and build every single house and block. This is the person that's just going to gather the right people around them and let them do the work. The second type is the projector. So the projector, I would call this person the architect.
Mhm.
So this person has a bigger vision of where things fall in. So they would envision where the neighborhoods would be, where the parks need to be, all of those things. They just have this big picture thinking and seeing what fits where. And a lot of projectors are amazing at systems and processes and all of that. So again, they will be the architect. They won't be the people that go and dig the houses and build the houses physically again, but they will be the people that envision and big picture plan everything. Now, we have to actually build the city.
Mm.
So here are the two energetic people, the people that actually do the work. So these are the generators and the manifesting generators. So just kind of going back to what I said before, the generator will be the person that will specialize, let's say, in building foundations. And they'll build all the foundations of all houses because they're just so good at building foundations or windows or something like that. The manifesting generator will buy a plot and just start building their own house. It's not going to be great. So they're going to buy a second plot and they're going to build another house. And this one is going to be a lot better because they learned so much in the process of building the previous one. So they're going to build a lot of different houses, but the last one is going to be freaking awesome. And then is the fifth type, which is the reflector. So once people start buying the houses, the reflector will go with them in the house and say, okay, so you need to have a really amazing kitchen. I can feel that like you're a person that needs to be more creative in the kitchen. So I'm going to design you as an interior designer, most beautiful kitchen. Or you guys need space for your children, or you need a space to study and read. So this will be the person that will feel the energy of others and really design the spaces that really suit them. So they won't be able to do that if the people are not really there, but with the people, they're going to be able to plan everything really well. So this is the analogy that really helped me to visualize kind of the
Mm,
five different types, and also to show you how we all work together. Like there is no one type that is better than the others, because without any of those types, like even if one of them didn't exist, the whole thing would collapse, right? Like some part of the city would not exist. So it's really important to understand that like maybe some people feel that like their reflectors and their type is less worthy or whatever. I've heard this kind of things. And I just want to say that each type has their own space and place in society and plays such an important role that if we were to like remove this type of person, a lot of goodness and benefits would actually disappear. So there
mm.
is no such thing as better type, worse type, or anything like that.
Yeah, I love that analogy. Was really helpful. Thank you so much. Was really, really interesting. And I know that reflectors are very rare, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you know the percentage in the population?
Yeah, it's about 1% of people.
Wow.
So up until a few months ago, I didn't know any reflectors, but actually, like one of my clients right now is a reflector, and another person that I've been talking with a lot, she's also a reflector. So that was really interesting for me to get to know how they work and uh, how they keep their energy, right? So it's really, really interesting. But reflectors are really rare. All the other types are like 8%, 10%, and so on. But the reflectors are the really rare people, and that's why sometimes they may feel like they're the worst type
Mm.
because they don't have anyone around them that operates in the same way.
Yeah, yeah. But everyone is as valuable and needed. So it's no matter your human design, you're loved and you're worthy. So
Yeah.
just remember that. And what would you say? Because I felt this for myself by not living in alignment, and I'm still discovering myself. I'm still in the process, and I feel like I'm never going to stop being in this self discovery journey. And now that I know a bit more about human design, I'm realizing that yes, I had this past conditioning that now I'm trying to break free. I'm in the process of healing a lot of things and just figuring out what I want for myself and how I want to live my life. And I felt that I felt burnt out. I felt like, what's the point? It's not even worth it. And even starting my business, I just had this idea that no one was going to even pay me, or just it was all of these misconceptions around this. And I felt like I was in not in alignment with who I was. And what would you say, with your experience, are some of the what would you say, like the opposite of the benefits? What's that word? The disadvantages
Hmm.
of not living in alignment and by your human design that people can
Hmm.
experience.
So burnout is the first thing that comes to mind, and unfortunately burnout happens more often than we acknowledge. So again, for generators and manifesting generators, this happens a bit slower because naturally we just have a lot of doing work kind of energy. So you can find a lot of, like, this is 70% of the population we're talking about here,
Yeah.
doing work that doesn't really feel aligned, but it just takes them years and years and years until they burn out. Versus for
Mm.
other types, that may actually happen a lot faster, and for a lot of them, they may actually decide to change their life a bit quicker because they are starting to experience symptoms. So burnout can look, or like living out of alignment can look like in many different ways, but I would say the most common signs are really feeling lack of energy about doing the work that you're doing. So if you're feeling like you're pushing and pressing and really having to hustle to get anywhere, that's usually a sign that you're living out of alignment. Unless you're a manifester, which is the person that is really designed to push and designed to get things done in that way to really energize. But 92% of the population, we are not manifestors. So the advice, just do it, go and get it, hustle for it,
Mm.
work for it, which is all we hear, especially in the entrepreneurship world. But even as kids, I think like kind of you make your own luck and all of that stuff, right? We hear that advice, and for a lot of us, we take that really deeply and personally, and we just start hustling. So I would say that this is probably the biggest sign. Like if you're feeling like it's really hard to get where you want to be, that's
Mm-hmm.
usually a sign that you're living out of alignment. Now, one big asterisk I need to make in here is that living in alignment doesn't mean that you just sit on the couch, watch
Mm-hmm.
Netflix, eat your fries, and people knock on your door willing to pay you thousands of dollars. That's not what I mean. You still have to do work, and you still have to do maybe some tasks that are less fun for you, and that's okay. But if everything that you're doing is not fun, that is usually a sign that you're living out of alignment. And if you actually go to mybodyggraph.com, this is where you can do your free chart. When you look into the chart notes, there is something that's called team and not self team. So when you look at the team, this is the emotion, the feeling that you experience when you're living in alignment. And the not self team is the emotion that you experience when you're living outside of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, for manifesting generators, the feeling is dissatisfaction when you're living out of alignment, really just feeling so tired, resentful. And
Mm-hmm.
then when you're living in alignment, it is satisfaction. For other types, it may be anger. For like manifestors, for example, anger is the not self team. So, like if you're constantly feeling angry at other people, at your situation, maybe that's a sign that you're living out of alignment. Or for projectors is being bitter. Are you being bitter that opportunities are passing you by, that other people have the life that you want? Like if you're just experiencing a lot of bitterness, right, maybe that's a sign for you that you're living out of alignment. So this not self team, it's called this emotion, is going to vary depending on your type, and that's why I can't give like the general advice how it's going
Yeah.
to feel. But if you're, let's say, burning out and constantly tired and feeling super unmotivated, for generators, manifesting generators, that's your sign that you're living out of alignment.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for that. Because I feel like a lot of people have these sensations and these feelings, but it's almost like they can't understand what exactly is going on. And by having this awareness, I think it is going to help a lot. And just understanding how to live in alignment. And the fact that they are aware that they are out of alignment means a lot already. And it's just that first step to change, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like for me, this is how I decided as well to move away from my previous position as an engineer, because even though I didn't know human design at that point, I had experienced a lot of satisfaction in other jobs. For example, when I was being a tutor, teaching students, there was so much satisfaction. I could really kind of physically feel that I'm doing the right thing. But then I would go to my engineering PhD and try to write something, and just there was this constant like dissatisfaction, lack of motivation, just tiredness. Like it was like being the on and off switch being turned on when I'm with students and really helping, and then turned off when I had to sit down and write. And this was a big sign for me that even though I didn't understand why I'm feeling like this, kind of what's wrong, I knew that there was a big difference between the two things and one wasn't right. So if you follow the emotion, kind of the guiding emotion for your type, it can really show you as well that you're in the right place, you're in the right path. And it can make your life just so much easier, even if you don't know exactly the 10 steps ahead what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people, myself included, want to control the future almost, and I want to be certain that this is going to happen this way, and I put this pressure on me, that, and I know that a lot of people do this as well, and they, it's almost like they're living ahead of themselves. And I feel like we need to be present, and I feel like it's very grounding to live in the present moment, obviously thinking about the future, but being centered. And I feel like that being out of alignment that you felt was very important, because it showed you what is important in being in alignment. And so I think all of these situations that we go through, where we experience burnout or we experience dissatisfaction, anger, bitterness, and all of these things, I feel like they are there to teach you exactly that, and to bring that to our awareness, and to show us that we can have better, and we can do better, and we can be better. And so it's just an opportunity for us to become aware and do something about it. And now maybe I'm bringing the projectors. Is it the projectors now? No, the manifestors. The manifestors, just do something about it. But at your own time and accordingly to your own design, I would say. What would you say, Millie?
Yeah, like absolutely. Like I think it's really important to recognize that there is no such thing as like perfect living by design. Like even I know my chart, it doesn't mean that every single thing that I do is according to my design. And sometimes it's really helpful to kind of do something against my design and then just feel straight away, like a month later or something, wow, that was really the wrong decision. I knew it, but I didn't trust myself. And it can strengthen actually your belief in your own potential, in your own abilities, because when you realize, okay, that was kind of going against my design and this is going towards my design. So to kind of give you an example, a couple of months ago, a person reached out to me to work with me, and straight away, like my human design authority is gut feeling, so straight away my gut feeling said no, no, don't take it. But at that point I didn't have clients, and I was not making money, so I felt really, I mean, desperate is not a good word, but I wanted to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So I took on that client because on paper everything was right. Everything they asked me to do was things that I could do, that I was doing already. So it wasn't something that was completely out there. So I let my mind make the decision. I let it rationalize. Of course, this is nice to have. It's a prestigious client. It's money coming to your bank account. It's a monthly thing. It's all good, right? Even though my body, my gut said, no, 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 don't take it. And lo and behold, I started doing the work. First few days was fine. And then straight away, I started feeling so much resistance, even though it was writing content, something that I love doing for myself. I love helping my clients with that. I just felt so much resistance towards doing the work. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, why am I not able to do this? Right.
Uh-huh.
So I started looking at it and I was like, I kind of almost want to let the client go because I know this is the problem, but I was again afraid to do it. And this led to me not really doing very well. Like I didn't do an amazing job for the client because I kind of didn't want to do an amazing job for the client. So we parted ways, and straight away, such a relief. I was like, okay, now we can relax. Now we can focus on kind of doing the thing that I wanted to do, which is coaching in consulting in this very basic sense, right? Not doing work for someone in
Mm-hmm.
the same area. So this was a very recent example of me already knowing human design, knowing how I make decisions, gut feeling, and all of that, and completely choosing not to listen to my intuition because my mind prevailed and told me that it is worth it. But when I think about, let's say, the amount of money that I made over those few months, and how much like resentment and just lack of energy I felt, like resentment towards myself, of course, not towards the client, just kind
Yeah.
of not wanting to do the work, I realized that those hours that I spent working for that client, and also the hours that I didn't do anything because I was just so drained for thinking about it, I
Yeah.
could have made maybe so much more money with the thing that I truly wanted. So, like, even from a rational standpoint, it made no sense because it made me really drained and not wanting to do even the work that I wanted to do. So, this is how, like, we do have free will. Knowing your human design is not a cure all for everything, but now that I've had that experience and I really strengthened, like, it strengthened my understanding and my trust in my gut feeling, because before that I would be like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure. Now I know that if I have a kind of no reaction to a client, even if on paper they're amazing and there was like nothing bad about this client, they were amazing, but just it was not the right job for me, not the right work for me, and because of that I felt so drained and not energized. And now I know that I need to trust myself when I feel this way, so that I can actually have space, like mental capacity and physical capacity, for the clients that are truly right for me.
Yeah.
But if I didn't make this mistake, I would probably still not trust my design 100%. So that's why some people call it like a human design experiment, because you're going around life, trying it out, trying
Yeah.
to figure it out, and learning along the way as well what works for you and kind of what your design means, not just intellectually, but also practically.
Yeah, yeah, like embodying what it means to be like this. And I love that example. Thank you for sharing, because it gives a clear image and just understanding of how this can work when we are out of alignment. And I feel like it plays a lot with ego and a higher self as in intuition as well. So you had your gut feeling and you were following, or well, you had your intuition say, you know what, this is not the best situation for you, but maybe you had your ego jump in with the fears and the past conditioning that you had, saying, you know what, I'm in a place of lack and this is good money, this is legit, and I'm just going to go for it because it looks good on paper. And it's just sometimes the ego wins, and other times it is the intuition that wins. And I would say that the ego is very valid and is there to it was there to protect you, because obviously you need money to live, you need money to survive. So it was protecting you, and it said, you know what, this is good money, this is good situation, it looks like a good situation logically and analytically, so I'm going to take it. And your intuition being a little bit more creative and being a little bit more emotional was giving you those bad vibes afterwards. So I think that now it was an amazing experience because you still got the money and you learn that you can trust your intuition, and that for the next situation you can make a better decision. So I see that as a very good experience.
Yeah, like I'm learning to see it that way. Like, even it's kind of at the time, like when it's happening, it can feel like a lot of self blame, like, why did I do
Mm,
this, why did I go against myself? But I'm learning to be self compassionate, and I think this is the biggest tip, especially if, for people that start to get into human design, and like you may feel a lot of pressure to do the right thing at all times, and you need to understand that, like, you're still human and
yeah,
ego is a very real thing, and also like survival is a very real thing. So it's going to try to protect you, especially like if maybe like you learn that you need to wait for things. Like, for a lot of us, we need to respond, we need to wait, and your ego doesn't want to wait. So it may
yeah,
push you, for example, exactly to take on work that you're not 100% held yes for, and so on. And sometimes it is okay to do that, like when it's truly like a necessity. Of course, like, I'm not saying like just stay hungry and like go homeless, like, I'm not saying that, but at the same time, for me, I know that it put me in an energy of lack and not feeling good and blame and shame and all of that, which of course is not the energy that I wanted to be in to attract my most ideal client. So kind
yeah,
of when I reconciled with the idea of letting the client go, that's when I started to attract the people that I really wanted to work with. So it's really like interesting experience do that. And I think that we can all be more compassionate to ourselves, like
Yeah.
knowing your design or not knowing it. But one thing that I really need to mention, I think it's important, is that if you do your chart, there is something called authority, right? And this is what I was saying, that my authority is gut feeling. So there are 7 different authorities that will help you to make the best decision for yourself. So for half of the population, it means to sleep on it. Like they need time to process things to know exactly what's right. For other people like myself, it's the gut feeling. For other people, they need to talk it out with others. So the important thing that I needed to say is that no authority is in the mind. All 7 authorities are in the body or kind of
Yeah.
outside of yourself, but there is no mind authority. And this is really interesting because I would say that like most of us, a big proportion of the time, we make decisions with our mind. But truly, if
Mm.
you want to start living by design and not by kind of conditioning, you need to realize that no decisions originate in the mind. Like the mind can confirm it or disprove it, and it's okay either way. But no actual kind of intuitive hits will come in the mind. So it's
Mm.
really important thing to understand, and kind of I have to remind myself that I need to listen to my body more, like to this initial reaction. And of course, after that, I can think about it, but a lot of the times it doesn't make sense. And is this kind of fine balance between trusting yourself enough, but also not doing something that completely like ruins your life. Like it can feel
Yeah.
like that sometimes. So it's very, yeah, like it's a fine balance to strike.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing that out because it is absolutely embodying the learnings and embodying, and we are here in this earth to be having a human experience. So it is important that we are connected with our bodies, and it is important that we have that awareness. And so, thank you for making that point. And would you be able to summarize? I know we covered a lot. So, if you would you be able to summarize our talk today in maybe three key points?
Mhm. Okay, so the first point is that maybe it's really important to know your design, to start understanding how you attract things, how, like, what's your role in a way in life, and how can you attract the most things with the least amount of resistance. That's probably like the most
Yeah.
important bit. The second thing is what I just said, that like we're not meant to make decisions based on our mind, but for all of us, we have either in our body or externally. So again, like knowing your authority can really help you to know, are you on the right track or not? And thirdly, based on your self emotion and then not self emotion, to start kind of very practically recognizing, are you on the right track or not? And truly learning what your emotion, like guiding emotion is, so that you can start recognizing it and truly find, okay, that's a direction that I need to be going more into.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. I couldn't have said it better. Well, because I don't know. You're the expert here. So, and you apply this to your business. So you work with
Mhm.
your clients according to their human design, according to yours as well. And so you've created this business around this. And what exactly is your business? Tell us a little bit more about it. How can people connect with you and work with you? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to share more about it. But honestly, it's business coaching. So I coach my clients to start attracting their ideal, most aligned audience and grow their business in a way that feels good and aligned with them. And because of that, I may be going a little bit against kind of traditional approach that says that like this is one path and the right way. I truly believe that there is no one path for everyone. And that's why I teach my clients the principles, let's say, of content marketing or sales or building an offer, all of that stuff. I give them the strategy, and then I also help them to modify that to something that really feels good to them. So, for example, like when it comes to social media, content creating content is something that is very, very personal. And for some people, they need to have a structure and routine and all of that. For other people, having a schedule is like the worst thing that they can do because it's so demotivating. So I
Mhm.
help my clients to find the strategies, the ways that really feel good for them to do business with, and to really start kind of carving their own path and doing things in their way, because I know that when you feel in alignment with your business, you're showing up in a more powerful way. So this is what I teach inside my one-to-one coaching, and I'm really planning on some courses and things like that that are going to help people like on a larger scale to learn how to use their design for content creation, for business, for sales, for marketing, because I'm so tired of all of those like bro marketing hacks and a lot
Mhm.
of those things that, let's say, the fake urgencies and all of that stuff
Mhm.
that are truly not in alignment with, I feel, a lot of people, but people still use them because they don't know that there are better ways. So it's truly my mission to show people that they can make sales, they can attract clients and do business in their own way and feel good about it. So I really want to empower people, introverts, extroverts, anyone, to really build a business that they are happy with, because when they're happy with, they're going to grow so
Sure.
much
Yeah.
faster and be so much more energetic. Yeah, so like if you want to find me, like I am most active on Instagram at Mili Velikova. So this is where I post most of my content, stories, all of that stuff, and like my DMs are always open for questions, and if you need any extra support, I'm like more than happy to help with that.
Amazing, amazing. I will leave everything in the show notes. And I think I will also leave the human design website that people can get their free
Yeah.
chart, and they can get to know what their type is and their authority and
Yeah.
all of this good stuff. So I will leave everything in the show notes. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Millie, for coming here. I learned so much already from this talk, and it's just amazing, amazing topic. And amazing to know that you are doing that and you're building this business out of integrity, and you're sharing your knowledge and you're sharing your energy that is so captivating. So thank you for that. Thank you for being today here on the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And
Absolutely. I love being here, and thank you so much for having me.
yes, thank you. And for everyone, I will see you next episode. Goodbye.